Okay, it's looking good.
VK2RAG, Summersby.
Good evening, folks. We're only 2 minutes late tonight. Let me just turn that down so I don't hear myself in Echolink. I just had to restart the app. That's all it needed. So we've already got Dave, VK2FTWY. This is Alan, VK2MG, on behalf of Central Coast Amateur Radio Club with the Weekly Net. For anybody who wishes to join us for a chat, we generally run 2 rounds. We have a topic tonight, which occurred to me in the light of events that I've had over the last week. And I'll mention that when we get going. I think that's all of the announcements I need to do, apart from if we could also ensure that we leave 5-second breaks between overs. That gives all of the Echolink conferences a chance to reset and we don't get disconnected from them. I believe that timeout is around 225 seconds. Okay, so on that note, we'll go to the local repeater. As I said, we've already got Dave to FDWI. Anybody else on the local repeater wish to join me tonight?
2GSV. November Romeo Charlie. Pile up, you got VK2GSV, VK2NRC, and also me, VK2NMZ. Hello, hello. K2AOR. K2NAA. Be in and out, good evening.
Okay, I only missed one there. We've got PK2s, FDWY, GSV, NRC, NMZ, AOR, and NAA. The last one you got stomped by VK2NAA. Could you go again, please?
It's VK2 November Alpha Alpha.
I'll just be in and out. Thanks for the net.
Okay, one more time. We had a doubling again. I've got VK2NAA. I missed the other station. I'm going to try that again so I don't double. Okay, I got VK2NAA. I missed the other station. Could you alone go again, please?
You're talking about me? I got no idea. Anyway, VK3HJQ. Be in and out. Thank you.
Okay, John, got you there for the in and out. Okay, last time out to the local repeater. Anybody else on the local repeater? Okay, nothing more heard there. I was close when I said 225 seconds. It's 235, but if you drop out after 225, you certainly won't reset anything. Okay, I don't see anybody else on the CCARC gateway, so anybody else out on Echolink wish to join us tonight? This is Alan, VK2MG.
Yeah, VK2DY.
Acknowledging Robert, VK2DY. Anybody else on Echolink? Apparently not, so we'll get going then. Those of you who follow the Book of Faces, specifically the Ham Radio Australia, will probably have seen my post about my linear and my embarrassingly simple problem this week, where I thought that I had actually destroyed something in it. And it turns out that I discovered that a 20 amp slow blow fuse is not a bi-state device. It can actually act as a resistor being partially failed, which was what my problem was. So, yep, new fuse, my linear works again. It was giving me about 0.4 volts across the between VCC and Earth after the fuse. So yeah, it's not going to drive very much. Okay, we'll head first out to you, Dave. How you been? What you been up to? And have you got a story on the topic? VK2FDWY, VK2MG.
Been well, I've been busy, I've been doing a hell of a lot of things in the last week, and I missed what the topic was, so can you tell me what the topic is, please?
Sure. What is the most embarrassingly simple repair that you've had to do?
Where do I start? Number 1 or number 10,001? I think the most embarrassing one would have been looking at a CD player, CD player, DVD player VCR system, and what it was the drive thing had the belt that was doing the spool drive, it was twisted and catching on a little nick in the thing, and I could not find out why it wasn't working. I'm looking here, I'm looking there, I'm looking everywhere else, and I'm looking at 110,000 things, and this friend said to me, why don't you look at this? And I thought, no, I don't think that would work. And she looked at me and said, all right, whatever, and strolled off, and I thought, duh, I wonder. And of course, then when I looked at what she said, I said, look at, that was the problem. And I thought, you knew about it, and she said, no, I just worked in the factory and made them and knew about the problem. Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, VK2FDWY, VK2MG. Yeah, that's a good one. And I'll say the only other reason I actually was tempted to go and look at those voltages was because somebody made a suggestion that I have a look to see if talk about the receive preamp switch, and I flipped it on and the lights went out and I went, oh, it's not just transmit, it's everything. But yeah, twisted belt, that's a good one. I like that. Okay, I got next here, David, to GSV. How you been? What you been up to? And do you have such a story? VK2GSV, VK2MG.
Didn't leave a long enough time out. Had to do it twice. Problems? I don't know. I could probably think of a million, but not in my brain tonight. The only thing I know was when the last job I did when I used to be out installing stuff, I used to have this one PM, I used to ring him up and I'd start telling him all my problems, and about 5 minutes into the conversation I'd come across all the solutions, and then I go, oh, it's all right, I figured it out. Then I asked him about it one day, and he said, yeah, no, Dave, every time you rang me up, I used to just sit there. I had no idea what you were talking about. I knew by the time we ended the conversation, you would have solved the problem. Yeah, but it happened all the time. But the simplest thing I ever had to fix was when I joined the old, I wonder how many of you remember the old aircraft carrier HMAS Melbourne. Yeah, well, I was on that ship the last 2 years. I was there on it for about 9 months. And one of the jobs was to work on the old telephone exchange. What a wonderful contraption that was. And the boss showed me when these things walk in and they get sticky, you just walk along and you hear the tick, 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 tick. You listen to each door until you find the one that's going tick, tick, tick. You open the door, you listen to the one that's ticking and you whack it. And it's all good. Okay. The old mechanical repair works. The best stuff ever. Yeah. And I'm glad you found your resistor fuse. Yeah, we got some funny things happen these days, don't we? Now, I've been out to installing Linux on an old laptop I had from the old job I had. They gave a whole bunch of laptops out, so I grabbed a few, and I've been installing FT8 and JDX and FLDigi and JS Call and a few other things on Klaus's laptop. So I'm showing him FT8, and he goes, oh, but I said, look, you can work stuff even when it's not there. And I showed him how you can. He's just reading about Whisper and about HC antenna performance. I said, look at all these stations that can hear you. And he goes, oh, wow. I said, yeah, all the same ones that can hear me. He goes, oh, okay. So that's going to keep him entertained for a bit longer. Anyway, back to you, VK2MG. I remembered your call sign, VK2GSV.
Yeah, VK2GSV, VK2MG. I get that a lot, and I have people do it to me as well with where basically you just need to be a soundboard for somebody, and when you talk about a problem out loud, ideas occur to you, don't they? And I get that with some of my colleagues, and they get it with me. So it certainly happens. And I get that talking to people who don't understand the problem either, but are happy to listen to me talk about it and get to a solution that way. And I do like the percussive maintenance type fix for fixing the PBXs, listening for the ticking, and playing with Linux on the new laptops. Okay, moving on. Rob, how have you been, Rob? What you been up to? And I'm sure you've got to have something good for this topic, mate. VK2NRC, VK2MG.
VK2MG and the group VK2NRC. Probably the most embarrassing thing was actually a friend had radio up on the top of it in his Sterling on a property, probably out the bush, and it was sort of right in the ridge line sort of thing. He screwed the radio up there and put a fuse holder in it and all that, and but him being about 6'13" tall sort of thing, that was easy for him. I've got up in the roof and that because it stopped working and figured, well, I'll start with the power supply and that, and I thought, oh, no, there's a fuse holder there, and that, and there's a spare fuse taped to it, and I thought, oh, that's looking good. So I could just stand on the top of my tippy toes, pull it apart, put the fuse in, and very cleverly put the other fuse into it, but didn't realise that was also blown. I forgot to check it, and he taped it to the thing and forgotten to take it with him. So after we ended up pulling the thing down, bringing it downstairs, checking it, all was going fine, took it back up again, and I said, well, put the new fuse in and all of that, and it ended up, after about 3 or 4 hours of mucking around, we thought, what if it's blown the fuse again? And it was, then he said, oh, I remember. That was a blown fuse I put there so I remember to put a stairs on there. So, yeah, but you couldn't see it sort of thing. You sort of had to be on tippy toes just to put it in and out. But that's probably the most embarrassing thing I've done. Back to you, Alan. VK2MG, VK2NRC.
Yeah, VK2NRC, VK2MG. Yeah, I got lucky. I was actually asking the question about who can I send this off to repair it before I came across what the problem was. So that would have been even more embarrassing, wouldn't it? Instead of just doing it in front of everybody on Facebook, having sent it off to a repair to say, oh, I replaced your fuse. Here's your shipping bill. But yeah, after unplugging something that high and uninstalling it, taking it down and then discovering the bad fuse, yep, that definitely qualifies, doesn't it? Okay, Brad, you're up next. How you been, mate? What you been up to? And you got anything on the topic? VK2NMZ, VK2MG.
VK2NMZ. Could you bump me down the list, please? I'm just in the middle of driving home.
Sure, I can do that, Brad. I'll just put a mark against you there. Right, later. Okay then, Bob. VK2AOR. How about you? How have you been this week, mate? And what you been up to? I hope you're feeling better than you were last week. And I was wondering if you've got a story on the topic. VK2AOR, VK2MG.
VK2MG, VK2AOR. Well, certainly feeling a lot better, and went and saw Don today, who's got to head out for some scans tomorrow. I think they plug him with some, what do you call it, nuclear medicine, and give him a scan and see what's going on with his back. So hope he has luck with that. And I think the topic is most embarrassing point. Was that the correct, did I pick up on the right thing?
The most embarrassing repair that you've had to do. Or embarrassingly simple.
Times, well, it wasn't embarrassing for me. It was mostly embarrassing for my customers, was to reset a circuit breaker. Just trying to think. I don't think I had an embarrassing moment. I was thinking back to my primary school days when we had to get dressed up as something. So they had a fancy dress party, like a what do they call it? Anyway, so my dad said, "Okay, here we'll put a shirt on you, we'll put a bow tie on you, we'll put a jacket on you, and here's a pair of underpants. Wear those over your shorts, and go as the absent-minded professor." I was too embarrassed to put the shorts, the underpants on. That's about it. Having some problems with my email systems at the moment, and looking at YouTube videos on MacBook Airs. So that's where I'm at the moment. VK2MG, VK2AOR. Thanks, Alan.
Yeah, VK2AOR, VK2MG. Yeah, you're sounding a lot better, Bob. You were sounding pretty cooked last week. So that sounds a lot better. I'm sure you pass on all their best wishes for Don for tomorrow, that everything goes well for him. I guess resetting a circuit breaker for a customer, yeah, well, that's that would qualify, I guess. And I can understand you not wanting to complete the outfit for the absent-minded professor. I really can. I hope you get your problems sorted with email. Oh, I can't imagine you'd be having a lot of trouble watching YouTube on a MacBook Air. I've got a MacBook Pro in front of me that I do it all the time on, so I can't imagine that you'd have a lot of problems with that. But if you are, I guess we might be able to give you a handout with that later on. Okay, looking at my list, Terry, VK2NAA. I hope I've got your name right there. How have you been? What you been up to? And just to restate the topic, what's the most embarrassingly simple repair that you've had to do? VK2NAA, VK2MG. Are you still with us? VK2 November Alpha Alpha, VK2 Mike Golf.
Work.
I think we just doubled there. You want to try that again?
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty embarrassing. But other than that, I haven't been doing much. Just good to catch up on the nets. I'm learning all the time.
I'm not sure what's going on there, Terry, but you keep dropping out. Not sure what that is. We'll give you another go there. VK2NAA, VK2MG.
with. I just swap radios. I am a carpenter by trade, and I haven't worked for many years, but I got a job with one of my son's employees many years ago, and he wanted all new doors hung in his house. So he got the doors delivered, and I proceeded to start hanging these doors, and got halfway through it, and they worked out that I've been hanging them upside down. That was pretty embarrassing. I had to fix it all up, but yeah, there's probably a few more down the track there too, but anyway, that one will do, and it's good to be on the net, and it's good to hear everybody. And I'll hand it back to the net controller, VK2NG, VK2NAA. I hope you got that copy better. Over.
VK2RAG, Summersby.
Yeah, VK2NAA, VK2MG. Much better there, much better. And yeah, that would be an embarrassing moment, I guess. No, hoping that you managed to be able to rectify that without too much difficulty. Okay, and yeah, much better on the other radio. I'm not sure what was going on there. You were a good signal when you were in, but it just didn't stay connected. So I'm not sure what was going on there. Okay, now John was in and out, so we'll go to John. Robert, how about you, my friend? How have you been? What you been up to? You got anything on the topic? VK2DY, VK2MG.
VK2MG, this is VK2DY, Robert in northwestern Sydney. Good evening. Yeah, it was a beautiful day today. Although it was overcast, the temperature was nice and warm, so it was a nice day to go out and actually spent most of the day cleaning the garage. For some reason, things accumulate there. They must multiply in the dark or something. I don't know, because every time I go there, there's more stuff in there. Anyway, it is what it is. I got a bit of it cleaned up. I have another couple days worth of work on it, but getting there eventually. Can't really think of anything on the topic at the moment. I don't know why. I'm just drawing an absolute blank at this point, so I can't really add much to the topic. And waiting for some kind of Star Trek to appear here, because it's kind of sad that there's no Star Trek at the moment. VK2DY, back to net.
Yeah, VK2DY, VK2MG. Should only have a couple of weeks to wait, mate, before we get, I think, is it Lower Decks is back. And I've heard there's a crossover coming, which sounds fascinating. And I didn't get to go to watch that video that you pointed out last week either. I need to go and do that. But, yeah, stuff does tend to multiply when you don't clean it up. I have noticed that myself. This doesn't just happen in garages. It certainly happens in my office too. Okay. The bottom of the list, are you back with us yet, Brad? VK2NMZ, VK2MG. I will take that as a no, and we'll try Brad again a little bit later after we go and check to see has anybody else on the local repeater wish to jump onto the end of the list there. This is Alan, VK2MG, on behalf of the Central Coast Amateur Radio Club. Okay, nothing heard. Anybody out on Echolink wish to jump on the tail end of the list? And hearing nothing, we'll try Brad again. Are you back with us yet, Brad? VK2NMZ, VK2MG.
It's pulling into the driveway. I'll be on the proper rig in a few moments.
Okay then, heading over to the Book of Faces, we've got one comment there. Good evening to John, VK2ZXD, he says good evening to everybody on the group. I think the only real announcements that I have this week would be that we have the general meeting this Saturday, which unfortunately I won't be able to get to, so I should get some notes in and a proxy, shouldn't I? I don't think I probably need a proxy for the general meeting. Then the general meeting will be held at Mount Penang Gardens, specifically in the cafe up there. Kicking off with a fox hunt, with a 3-transmitter fox hunt. I'm working from memory here because I didn't think to write this down. I have written this down. It's on the broadcast notes for last week. Where's that gone? Let me just find that note there. Start with multi-transmitter fox hunt, followed by lunch, the meeting, and maybe a bit of portable HF. I think the lunch was set for midday and the fox hunts were before that. I'm sure Brad could give us some ideas of the time if he's got inside yet, which is probably a good segue. Are you back yet, Brad? VK2NMZ, VK2MG. Okay, I'll carry on with stuff I'm seeing here from my notes, and note that next week also we've got the AGM, so I believe that stuff will be sent out with that very shortly. It'll be 1 o'clock at the club rooms. Oh, also this weekend the club rooms will not be open given that we're off-site. I've got nothing more really to waffle on about here, so I'm really hoping that Brad's in near his inside transceiver, VK2NMZ, VK2MG. Okay, hearing nothing, what I might do is I'm just going to jump over onto Facebook Messenger. I'm going to message him to message me when he's actually available. And I'll slot him in and we'll head back to the top. Just one moment here while I find the right screen. Of course I can't find Messenger when I want it. So we'll head back up to the top and I will sort this as we go. Anything else you want to add, Dave? VK2FDWY, VK2MG.
Got the 371 completed. I finished those during last Monday, and then I started going back through the early versions, the first 30 or so, and fixing them up to the standard that the other ones are at. And I started making the new volume X to the 371. So that's where I'm up to on that. That works complete on the computer side, on the logic side, and now it's just doing the weight burner side. And playing around with the computer and other things, and come up with an idea for the guitar meet this month. And they're similar to the last one, doing a solo. This time I'll try and do it different. I'll try and copy some of the other guitarist style and just see what I can come up with that. And of course, naturally, the big fire up over the hill the other day and the drama that was going on there with that event. The media doesn't really tell the truth anymore. They just this, that and the other. But and then Facebook, having a look at a few things over there and seeing what's going on and so forth and so forth. And I can't think of anything else to say. Of course, when I hang up and go off, I'll definitely remember something. So apart from that, that's about all I can. So I was watching the 100, and one of the guys I knew was going to win one. And what I was expecting in that was they're in two groups of teams, and the ones who actually won split, and the two that were the one who won and his mate, and the other one who won and his mate, they split. And I'm thinking, okay, this is unusual. And of course, the guys at the control panel, the watchers, they had no clue that they were split. It was a surprise to them. And of course, the two who won, I think, had got it organised right from the very beginning. that they would do that at the end and win, so and share the others with the other two. So I think it was a twist. Like we're looking at Team A1 and Team B1, and of course that's all changed. And the drop-off point was interesting, but the other, so they actually got this off the thing, and they got the actual lift off the beach, and they landed on the helicopter that was retrieving and landed on the beach. The other surveillance one, that had to land in the paddock, and they had to go for a run, and it was sort of, okay. And the two who were running, they were slow to run elsewhere, but on that final dash to the helicopter, weren't they sprinters? I was wondering, it was, at the end of it seemed rigged. It sort of was like entertainment, but it was all set up, and I think the two winners actually twisted their event to the end, so that those who were watching just were confused. Okay, that's about all I can say. VK2MG, VK2FDWY.
VK2RAG, Summersby.
Yeah, VK2FDWI, VK2MG, all good on the 371 completed. And it's not really a surprise that media didn't cover that Summersby fire well. It's all about getting the viewership, getting the clicks, and getting the advertising, isn't it? And it wouldn't surprise me to see a little bit of collusion or a little bit of playing up for the cameras in any sort of reality event. I've seen some of the contracts those involved, so yeah, it doesn't surprise me that sort of thing happened. Okay, I see Brad's back, and he's messaged me a few things as well. Of course, yes, if the weather is bad, it'll almost certainly be back to the club rooms. The transmitters will be well hidden for the Fox Hunt. And, of course, the raffle. If you were putting off buying tickets, I'm sorry to say you're too late. It's sold out. The 1,000 tickets sold in 8 days. It was impressive. Anyway, Brad's back. NMZ, VK2MG.
Good morning there. Good morning there. Good evening there, Alan, and good evening everyone else that's dropped in on the net this morning. Not this morning. This evening, I'm all over the shop. Really hope everyone's well and they're staying out of running through, staying out of trouble, and just generally behaving themselves. I go off and I think of most embarrassing simple fix that I've gone off and had would. There's a few. There's automotive related ones where I'm going off and have gone off and been doing work on the car and wondering, and not after I finish doing things, not starting. I'm cranking and I'm checking spark plugs and doing all these other sorts of things. All these tests going right down to the ECU and working out why the fuel pump isn't priming, and it turns out it was just the plug that was steering right in front of me on the crank angle sensor wasn't even plugged in, it was just sitting ajar, and I kept on looking straight over it. That was a frustratingly simple fix. Other ones, I think electronics wise is really just sometimes it's not quite enough solder or where it's just a simple fuse that's gone off and blown. During these, but yeah, Alan, mate, thank you very much for doing those announcement things for the raffle things. That was quite exciting to go off and to go off and watch that, especially around the last pretty much today, watching the rush of tickets come in and people go off and grab them and take a hold. So that was quite fun and quite exciting to go off and watch. Yes, you are right. Weather pending, there will be the Fox Hunt that's going off and happening. And the reason why I know that there's a Fox Hunt is because I'm looking at the transmitters now. So they'll be there. I will bring along some Yagis and some sniffers for those that may be interested. As Alan also mentioned, we do have a lunch there at 12 o'clock. So if you did RSVP last Friday after Brian sent out a couple of those emails, then you will have your lunch paid for you. And then we'll have a brief general meeting afterwards, and then the portable lock after which Alan said too. I think a couple of things. There's going to be a bit of a break for raffles for a little while, but definitely something to have in your head is, dear Santa, if you were to go off and have a Christmas ham raffle, what would you like to have in that big bag? I think it's probably something to just keep in the back of your mind and have a think about that. More info will come to light in the next, I don't know, month or something like that. So Alan, thank you very much there, mate, for running the net, and I'll pass it back to you. VK2MG, VK2MZ.
Just quickly, Brad, what time are you looking at kicking off the fox hunts?
Yep, I didn't leave a 5-second gap, sorry about that.
Neither did I.
Be kicked off at 11 a.m. So 11 a.m. kick that off, and that will be 3 transmitters. Not 1, 2, but 3 transmitters of varying sizes and varying powers. And because they're varying sizes and varying powers, it also means that I can be an absolute jerk to where I'm going to go off and put them. So, yeah, you're going to have a keen eye and look around your surroundings because it may be obvious, it may not be. I don't know, it depends how much of an arse I feel like on the day. Anywho, back to you, mate.
Yeah, VK2NMZ, VK2MG. Just noting in my log, I can be a jerk hiding them. Quote. Okay, it does sound like fun. I sort of wish I could get out, but I do have a prior engagement. I see my RSVP has been taken. So that's a good thing. I'd hate to see an empty spot there. Okay, where am I here? David, anything else you wish to add in the second round? VK2 GSV, VK2MG.
Not really. But if anybody gets around to make that 6-metre flower pot antenna, if you want to get the bandwidth a bit wider, instead of just using the centre conductor for the top section, get a piece of Dodgy 213 or Wailamar 400 and solder the inner to the outer, and solder that to the bottom section, and on the centre of the bottom section, and you'll get better than 1.8 across the whole 6-metre band. Works quite well. Although I'm sure if I made the top section, bottom section out of RG 213 and then use the 58 for the wine at the polymer will work probably even better. But I haven't got that far yet. That's possibly my next experiment. Otherwise, not much. I'm playing around with Linux. I'm trying to install these new Linux remote control for the ICOMs, but it won't work on my Linux Mint because of one package which is too out of date. I'm probably going to have to upgrade Linux Mint to the latest version to make it work. But I'm just waiting for it to sharpen my repository so I can upgrade to the next last version, which I think just got released a few weeks ago. It's probably getting delayed into getting into my repository. But anyway, that's the fun of Linux. Anyway, that's it for me, and it's good to see you back up again and running. And good evening to you, Mr. Brad. VK2MG, VK2GSV.
VK2GSV, VK2MG. Now, that would probably actually be a really good thing for you to post to the either to the club's Facebook group or maybe even Ham Australia, because a lot of people do use the use that design antenna. I know I've got one for 2/70, though I'm not using it at the moment. But yeah, I do want to try and get something decent up for 6 meters. So yeah, that would be something I think would be really great to actually post out to the wider community. Okay, where's my list here? Rob. Anything else you wish to chime in with this evening, Rob? VK2NRC, VK2MG.
VK2NG, VK2NRC. Nothing really all that exciting. It was good catching up with a few people up at Gerald last Sunday. It was a pretty good day. Got a few interesting bits and pieces, and got a few sort of projects sort of finished to the testing phase, so that was good. And yeah, it was just a good, enjoyable day, and catching up with a few people that haven't spoken to for a couple of years, so it was all good. Yeah, apart from that, bit of a quiet week radio-wise, but might go for a bit of a trip on the weekend, I'm not sure yet. Anyway, Thanks for running that, and wish everybody a pleasant and enjoyable week. VK2MG, VK2NRC.
VK2NRC, VK2MG. Always good to catch up with folks and getting out. And one of these days I might actually get down to Dural. It requires me to get out of bed early on a Sunday though, doesn't it? No, I'm not very good at that after doing that all week. I like a sleep in on the weekend when I can get it. And yeah, I've not really got back on the radio myself a lot this week either. While I've got the linear fixed, the HF antenna is still down. I just find some time to go and put that back up in the air. Because I'm seeing all of these people going out and doing parks during the week and I'm not getting them, and I really do want to get some of these in the log. And I do believe this weekend, if anybody is on HF and interested in trying to get some of the I've forgotten what is it. I think it's the Keith Roderick Memorial Parks. Is people doing a whole lot of activation for those. So if you're missing any of those, you may get a few more of those this weekend. I think I've still got about a half a dozen to get them all. Getting there. Right. My list here. Right. Where are we here? Oh, I moved Brad down to the bottom. So we'll leave you down the bottom there. Bob, anything else you want to add tonight, mate? VK2AOR, VK2MG.
VK2RAG, Summersby.
Embarrassingly, we were headed to Canberra, and the car started playing up, and it was a Holden Commodore, a VN Holden Commodore, and we got down towards the other side of Liverpool, and it was shaking and carrying on and felt like the gearbox was going to drop out of the car. So I called the NRMA and they organised a tow into, everyone was closing, it was a Friday night, and organised a tow into can't think of the suburb now, but it's sort of next one out of Liverpool, heading down the Southern Highway. And so when we got back, I rang the guy to find out. He said, "Oh, we haven't had a look at it yet, and we'll be having a look at it tomorrow." So tomorrow came, and I rang him back, and he said, "Oh, your gearbox is gone. It's going to cost you $3,500. And I said, "Oh, well, never mind. I'll just get a tilt tray to pick it up and bring it home. Thanks for your diagnosis and quote." Anyway, got it home and checking, and of course you go straight from the computer, and then you look at all the sensors and everything that's going on, and couldn't find anything that was wrong. Every time that there was a system that you check on the car which tells you what the problem can be. The problem was that every time I tested it, it had come up with a different answer. So then I started to think, well, how does the car work? Okay, it's got fuel, and it's got ignition, and that all seems to be working fine. It's got air, and then there's exhaust, and then the penny dropped, and I undid the flange on the exhaust pipe off the what do you call it? The pipes that come off the engine, the manifold, and the thing fired up straight away. It was terribly noisy, but what's the thing called, the exhaust muffler had stuff in it to I just can't think what it's called now. Anyway, that was completely blocked. So it was like putting a spud up the exhaust pipe.
Oh.
And took me 4 weeks to work that out, but that was the embarrassing part, I think. VK2MG, VK2AOR.
Yeah, VK2AOR, VK2MG. Well, maybe not so much embarrassing for you, but it would have been embarrassing for the guy who told you it was a gearbox, wouldn't it? I mean, if you're going to replace the gearbox and, hey, it still doesn't work. But, yeah. It's fun when things like that fall out, isn't it? And is that it's actual part of what I got training called situational analysis. Looking at the problem holistically, everything working out. Okay, so find everything that's actually wrong here, and what explains it? How does it work? And does this solution explain everything that we're seeing here and stuff like that? And you got there, didn't you? Great stuff, Bob. Okay, moving on, Terry. Anything you want to add there, mate? VK2 November Alpha, VK2 Mike Golf.
Yes, VK2 NAA. When I got my license, my radio license, the first radio I brought was a Yazi FT450D, and I didn't know anything about them, or didn't know much about them at that stage. I looked it all up, and I was down at my daughter's place, which is just down the road from where I live, and there was this big clap of thunder one day, and I got back up home, and the radio wouldn't turn on. So I got in touch with the people I brought it off, and I took it back to them, and they got back to me about a week later and said, look, it's going to cost you $300 plus to fix, and said somewhere between $300 and $600, and I thought, well, don't worry about it, I'll come and pick it up, and I'll work something out. So in the meantime, I answered an ad from a chap in the next suburb who was selling a radio, and so I brought that one off him, and when I went to pick it up, I was telling him about mine, and this bloke happened to be a technician, and he said, well, look, when you pick it up off him, bring it back to me, and I'll have a look at it for you. So I did that, and I dropped it off to him, and the next day he rang me back. He said, look, I fixed it, and it cost me $76, I think. So, yeah, there you go. And I won't say who I originally brought it off, but, very wary of them these days anyway. But, yeah, so I've got 2 radios now, and 2 HF radios, and a few little 2 metre and 70 centimetres and handhelds, and just goes on and on. I'll hand it back to the net controller. Over.
VK2NAA, VK2MG. It's always nice when someone can have a look at it and go, no, it's not $300 worth of fixing. That's you can have that for 75 or 76. Yeah, that's nice. And yet radios also are one of those things that tend to multiply when you're not paying attention, aren't they? You see, I've got you're looking at the video here. I'm talking on the 818 here. Next to it, what have I got here? I've got 3 handhelds. I've got the receivers. I've got another Yaesu handheld, and I've got the Baofeng with a dead battery. Got the FTD M300, which I really want to move over to using at home because I think it's a nicer radio for a VHF than this one. But I've just got to get the audio interface working for this stuff here, because the 3.5mm jack on it has a surround on it, and the jack I used to plug into the 818 won't go in because it just physically doesn't fit. So I got another cable there. I was looking for an adapter, and I think I actually just noticed it. Yeah, and I just noticed one here a couple of minutes ago, so I could have actually run on that other radio tonight, maybe next week. So I run it, run the headphones into a direct in, into the mixer, and do it that way, but my DIN needs a 6.5mm jack. I just found the adapter for that. As you get any headphones now, they come with those. You don't have to go out and get them separately. So yeah, I'm glad that you got the 450D fixed there, and always nice when it's a lot simpler and cheaper than you thought it was going to be. Robert, anything else to add there, mate? VK2DY, VK2MG.
Yeah, VK2MG, this is VK2DY. I'm just going through some of the information on the AMC website. Why do I say WIA? Anyway, they made me an assessor, and I just am trying to figure out exactly what I need to do to give exams. Sort of not a whole lot of guidelines there for that. I assume that it looks like you only need one person to give, one assessor to give the exams for amateur radio, which is sort of interesting. The Americans have a minimum of 3, so very interesting. Anyway, I'm just looking through the guidelines, trying to figure out exactly how the whole thing works and exactly when and where I'm going to offer my ability to give exams. But at any rate, it is what it is, as they say. An interesting side note that has nothing to do with amateur radio. Reading an article on the Facebook, and I learned that in Australia, most people, when they park their cars with an automatic, they apply their handbrake. And me, growing up in America, I never learned to do that. So it's sort of interesting to read through the whole discussion about whether or not when you park an automatic you need to use the handbrake. And there were people vehemently arguing both sides, and I still don't know which is the best way. But I've been driving for 40-some years and have never used a handbrake in an automatic and have never lost the vehicle. So I think I'll continue doing what I'm doing. Anyway, thank you again. VK2DY 73.
Yeah, VK2DY, VK2MG. Maybe we're just a lot less trusting. I learnt to, I drove a manual for many, many, many years, so it's just ingrained into me that you turn the wheels, you put it in gear, and you put the handbrake on. It's just that it's automatic for me. I don't even think about it. I just do that. So yeah, so maybe we're just a little less trusting of things and expect things to break more often. So though the handbrake is the to be sure to be sure. Okay, we are at the bottom of the list. I am going to throw it over to you, Brad. Anything else you wish to chime in with tonight? VK2NMZ, VK2MG.
VK2JG.
Yeah, VK2MG, VK2NMZ, and also acknowledging James there as well. Mate, I haven't really got anything else. I'm pretty well good and sorted over on this side. I've just got happy, very very happy with the label, one of the label printers, and I've plastered. It looks really ugly, and I really don't like it. But basically I put labels all over the whatchamacallit, the antenna boxes and the transmitters and stuff. That way, if somebody sees it, hopefully they don't go off and flip out. A bit of side news is some of the little PreSonus monitor speakers that I picked up for $5 each at Trash and Treasure. Well, there should be an amplified speaker that came with it, but unfortunately I didn't get that. So then I've just packaged speakers for $5 each. They normally sell for about $300 for the pair. I've chucked that into a little amplifier that I've got here, and surprisingly, they have quite a lot of punch to them. I'm very, very happy with my little $10 investment there. a couple of people up there on the for the fox hunters as well, really just to try and get a little bit more activity and participation and stuff going rather than basically just sitting there watching TV in the room, just getting out and doing radio sort of related things and activities and being a bit more social. But yeah, alrighty mate, thank you very much there buddy, and I will pass it back to you.
VK2NMZ, VK2MG, and also acknowledging VK2JEG. I'll call you in a moment, James. He said, I would love to have gotten out there, but yeah, prior engagement, I'm doing an online video gig at that time, so yeah, can't really get out of that. Yeah, Presonus is a reasonably nice brand for your audio stuff. So I'm glad that that's working well for you. I've got a set of, I actually went out and bought a brand new set of Elisa speakers. Well, they were new when I got them probably almost 10 years ago now. But I've still got these here and they're Elisas. These are really quite nice as well. So they run out of the studio out on my mixer. So they are my monitors. So I get to hear everything here. You trying to learn IT stuff there, Brad? This could be dangerous. Okay, so before I call anybody, before I go and see if we've got anyone else here, we'll go over to James. Good evening, James. How have you been? What you been up to? VK2JEG, VK2MG.
Yeah, VK2MG, yeah. VK2JG, good afternoon, Alan, or good morning, or good afternoon, or I suppose it's good night, really. Anyway, it's one of those. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I normally don't come on Thursday nights because every time something's happening, but and when I come on, it's too late. Everybody's gone. But it's good to hear your voice here tonight when I switched on my new 9700. So. It's nice and clear. I hope I'm coming through clear to you because you guys are coming through really, really good. Just a comment there from our friend, an American friend, about automatics. A lot of people don't realise that an automatic, when you put it into automatic, actually a pin is engaged into the system, and that pin isn't all that big, and of course over a period of time it wears out. So those who've only just put it into automatic and not put the brake on are very lucky that they haven't actually smashed the pin, because that used to happen in the old days. So the idea is to put it take it in neutral, put the handbrake on, then put it in the park, and that is really the proper way of doing it. And good car etiquette as far as I'm concerned. But other than that, very excited about the raffle and being all completed, and Brad looks like he's got me going into D-Star on new radio and delving more into radio as time goes on, so it's quite exciting for me. All right, everybody have a great night, keep safe, catch you later. VK2MG, VK2JEG.
Yeah, VK2JEG, VK2MG. Learned something about it. I did not know that, and that actually does make a lot of sense. And like I said, I guess we're just not as trusting, are we? And quite possibly with good reason. Yeah, it was great to hear about that the raffle's selling out. And I've got my 10 tickets. I'm happy. And I've heard there are some people bought some pretty big blocks of tickets too, so it's going to be interesting. And Brad getting you into D-Star. Okay, your 9700, you are sounding absolutely beautiful signal there. It's very clean indeed. I am also going to call in because I can see here that we have VK4AKH on CCARC. So before I go out and see if there's anybody else, I'll call you in, Dad. Topic tonight, if you wanted to throw something in there, and I'm sorry I forgot to mention that to you, James. What's the most embarrassingly simple repair that you've had to do? VK4AKH, VK2MG.
I don't know, Al. I think I seem to do them all the time, actually. You know, amateur radio is very much a roller coaster thing. You go looking for faults, and you go weeks and weeks and don't get anywhere, and you think, what the hell am I doing this for? I'm too dumb. And then you turn around and you suddenly find something which was wrong, and you fix it up, and you go to ask me a question, any question. Yeah. Nothing too much from me. Tomorrow I go out to with a friend of mine, to help a YL on the air. And when I say YL, she's 88, and she has been a member of the club there, VK4UH. But she wants she's living locally and wants to get a bowfing or something programmed up so she can get the local repeaters at least. I know the local repeaters up here are pretty dead these days, and I'm not very happy about that, but I mean, what can you do? Okay, enough from me. Anyhow, hope you're keeping well. VK4AKH.
VK4AKH, VK2MG. I think you pretty much summed that up there. Yeah, it is all about that. It's any sort of problem solving. It's really hard until you actually find it and go, oh, why didn't I think of that? That's so simple. Ask me anything, yeah. And good to hear you going out to help getting this YL up on the air. That's what club support's all about, isn't it? It's what AR's about. It's just helping each other out, isn't it? So good to hear that. So we are at the bottom of the list here. I'm running out of paper. So I'll start another column. Is there anybody else on the local repeater who'd like to chime in before we finish up tonight? This is Alan, VK2MG, on behalf of the Central Coast Amateur Radio Club with a weekly 2-metre net.
VK2XOR.
Acknowledging Max, VK2XOR. Anybody else on the repeater? Okay, anybody else out on Echolink want to chime in before we finish up tonight? Not hearing anything. The floor is yours, Max. How have you been? What you been up to? And have you got anything you can talk about on the topic? VK2XOR, VK2MG.
VK2MG in the group, VK2XOR. I've only just switched the radio on a couple moments ago. I believe I heard that the topic is most embarrassing repair that you've had to make. If that's the case, radio-wise, one thing comes to mind. I didn't actually end up making the repair. I sent it back to have someone a little bit more skilled do it. I probably could have done it if I really tried, but I sat down and made a whole batch of Anderson power pole connectors once upon a time, a few years back, and somehow one of them that I made up, which was an adapter from power pole to just barrel plug, the kind of really standard sort of size barrel plug that a lot of things take. Unbeknownst to me, I had wired the barrel plug backwards. And I had been doing a whole bunch of testing, getting a Raspberry Pi headless. I think I was going with, digital modes. I was really excited, and I had it all working, and I went to swap power supplies because the one I was testing with was running low on juice. Swapped power supplies, and so I swapped connectors as well, just because I didn't have to unplug all kinds of different things. And the new connector I used apparently was reverse polarity, and the little HF SDR transceiver that I plugged it into just went pop the moment I plugged it in. And there went my exciting weekend's work of finally getting everything working. So I was off air for quite a while after that. As far as that went, that was a bummer. Anyway, just wanted to pop on, say good evening to all. Hope everyone's been doing well. Like I said, I didn't really catch much of the net. I heard something about the automatics and parking brakes. I grew up in Montana in the U.S., and I don't know, I remember always kind of just putting the parking brake on as well with automatics and manuals both, just for redundancy.
somebody else mentioned the little pin thing as well. I think that was a concern of ours too. Anyway, I hope everyone's been keeping well. Thanks for running the net, Al, and take care all. Back to net control from VK2XOR.
Yeah, VK2XOR, VK2MG. Yeah, they don't like it when you get the power backwards and they go puff, do they? That magic smoke has got to stay in the components, doesn't it? Ouch. This is one of the things that's nice about, I think the 818's got it. It's got reverse polarity detection in it. And, yeah. It's not like it's difficult to add to a rig. It's nice when it's in there. And I think I've done that once, and I've been lucky. Yeah, ouch. And it's an easy thing to do, and with all of this trying to work out what was wrong with my linear during the week as well, one of the things that I was looking at was having to do I need to take these 45 amp power poles off and do them again, because for me 45 amp power poles are a royal pain to work with. They really are awful. Give me the 30s any day. That's much easier to crimp. The 45s, I never have a lot of fun with those, and I messed the last lot up because I bought myself a new, I got a 25 amp hour LifePo 4 battery that I'll be taking out with me, so it'll drive the linear for a little bit longer than the 12 amp hour gel cells. And I needed to make a cable for that, so I ended up using, I tried to do the 45s on it. I gave up and just did some 30s on it. I shouldn't be drawing more than about 22 anyway. Okay, so we are at the bottom of the list. We've done some call-outs. We do have a few more people on the Book of Faces. Good evening to our friend from Puerto Rico. Good evening, Daniel. I hope you're doing well. KP4DRB. Yeah, we have a bit of a discussion between Ken and Daniel on there as well. This net is getting recorded. It's on the video, so if anybody wants to catch up on anything during it, we go onto the Book of Faces to the club page. It'll be in the videos section. Just trying to get back to the right page on my computer here, which is fun to do with one hand. There we go. Everything's still connected. Good. Okay, I've had fun this evening, folks. Thanks very much. Like I said, don't forget we've got this month's general meeting on this weekend with the fox hunts kicking off up at Mount Penang Gardens at around 11 o'clock, and Brad will be bringing some sniffers and Yargies for anybody who wants to participate but doesn't have the kit. And I think the actual quote that I have written down from here is because of the size of the transmitters that he can be a jerk placing them, and will be. So it should be an interesting time to try and find them. Okay, so we're at the bottom. Thanks very much for joining us. This is Alan, VK2MG, on behalf of the Central Coast Amateur Radio Club, formally closing this week's weekly 2-metre net with added Echolink at, what is the time? At 21:11, and returning the repeater to general use. Good night all. I'll disconnect IRLP in a couple of minutes. Thank you all for watching. I'm just going to go over and try and find the feed page, and we'll end the video. Good night.